Yes, and our final, what will have to be our final audience question from, I think, was it a lady or gentleman at the back? Oh, yeah, sorry, I couldn't quite see you, yeah.
My name's Akash Karki. I'm a GP registrar and a clinical leadership fellow at the East of England. I've heard a lot about vision and success from all the panel, and my question is, 3 years from now, what does success look like for the health and social care of this nation, and how, as the panel from your own respective companies, have you been engaged to add to that success? And this time around, Jim, can you speak last?
Fantastic.
Or not at all.
Richard, 3 years from now, what is success for the NHS, and what will your company have contributed? Where will you be in your relations with the NHS?
So, success, I think, will be when we can look at exciting new innovative technologies and services, have a clear business case of clear evidence, and need to embrace that and move forward with it without having to go to an SHA which maybe say, hey Richard, this is a great idea, now go and speak to my 10 PCTs, some of which agree, some of which don't. The PCTs then say, well actually, we're in with you Richard, we get it, will you go and speak to the GPs, some of them are in, and then, a year on, it's, okay, well, the SHA is now kind of, morphed, you need to go back to and you get into this spiral. So I think the succinct answer for me is I want to get to a spot where we can bring in exciting new innovative technologies and services, prove the business case for them, do some risk share and move forward for the benefits of patients. That's where I would like to get to.
Clay?
The test for me would be if in 3 years' time, if a greater percentage of the NHS asset is being spent on the most appropriate patients and caregivers, right? So if we were to look at it, in BT's part in that, I think was probably around efficiency, but also hopefully a growing role in telecare and telepresence.
Jackie?
I think success for me and for the medical device industry would be for the NHS to be adopting technologies and giving patients access online with other European countries.
Simon?
So I think a couple of things. I think one, it's been mentioned, but really making use of the information and getting increasing insight from the wealth of information that is actually out there. And I think we're just scratching the surface, and probably some would say having another go at moving the game forward on electronic patient records. Let's see what happens there. And the other really personal thing, and Jim mentioned it earlier, but things like AWP, seeing if we can get third sector organisations, charities who are deeply skilled, like our friends at WizKids, working with the NHS to deliver some of these services. I'm really enthusiastic and keen to help unlock some of that potential.
Rick?
Well, I'll cheat very slightly if I may, because I'm not sure this is 3 years, 30 years, or whether we'll ever achieve it. But to me, the vision would be that the National Health Service has, 67 million more employees. It's just you don't actually pay any of them. And that is to say, when each of us as patients, people, feel that we are part of the solution and not just the problem, that we can contribute in our everyday lives, whether that's through social networks, supporting each other, gathering information, doing whatever. It really is about informational exchange and supporting each other, and that should not be left to the few who literally work in the National Health Service alone, but in fact every one of us. And as a company, that, if you will, is our goal, to change the way people live, learn, work and play.
There are a lot of people here. I guess people come from differing backgrounds here. Some you might be trying to sell products and ideas into the NHS. Others are working within the NHS and wrestling with the changes. I just wonder if there's, a sentence or two sentences of advice from each of our panelists as to the approach that you should take in trying to integrate yourself and your work and your job with this great giant beast called the NHS that is writhing through this process of change. Rick?
Well, as I think I just finished, and I will just pick up that theme, it is about being connected. In every walk of our life, whether I'm a surgeon, a doctor, or any other profession or job in the country. It is about being connected and sharing my time, my knowledge, etc. And sharing both within the various corporations as well. So how we collaborate together to share information is what will actually improve our ability to drive innovation, adoption, and make things better for all.
Simon?
So, I mean, at risk of sounding fairly trite, I think being confident and passionate and sticking up for the right things. And I think to the gentleman from Imperial earlier on, I think it is really hard to make the change happen. So remaining focused and really sticking with it, because it is really worth doing.
Yeah. Jackie?
I think keeping focus, being collaborative, making sure you work on all levels, making sure that we can release value and what can we bring to the NHS, and making sure we realise those things.
Clay?
Yeah, and I can actually talk as an ex-entrepreneur, so I can talk about BT, and so I've done this in a way. It's all about don't go it alone. You got to strike partnerships. Doesn't have to be with the big guys, although that's often good, but make sure that you strike partnerships both with the process and the institution you're going to fit into, but also with each other, with other entrepreneurs.
Richard?
Yeah, I think I support everything the fellow panelists have just said, and I think I'd add to that by saying, be positive and be excited. If you're positive, it's infectious, it rubs off on other people. People want to feel part of the positive future that's coming along. Let's be realistic. Change is frightening. If you don't think it's frightening, maybe you're missing what it's all about. But pull that nervous energy and excitement and make it infectious and move forward to a common goal.
A final word from Jim. I mean, you guys are clearly on the case, because over the last 2 days we've heard a wide, variety of examples of the kind of work that is going on deep within the NHS, starting at the top and filtering down. But is there any one word of advice that you would give to everyone out here for almost their mental approach, their mental attitude for dealing with the changes that are taking place, some of which they may find difficult or unacceptable or even impossible?
I live in York, which is a chocolate town, and I have, probably not for much longer actually, but I have friends who work on quality improvement on Kit Kat. And they're very passionate about it, and they say to me, you must be very lucky because what you're working on is much more important than Kit Kats. I think that's true. So my advice in change being difficult is to go back to purpose. And we're blessed because we have the most powerful purpose of any organisation in the country. And if you want an encapsulation of that, which I have read dozens and dozens and dozens of times and find inspiring every time I read it, it's the opening of the NHS Constitution, which starts with the NHS belongs to the people. We have the richest, most important purpose, and we have no excuse not to be motivated in the challenge we face.
Well, thank you. I hope you'll agree it's been a terrific session, incredibly entrepreneurial session. We would expect nothing less. Just listening to everyone talk, I was reminded of a quotation which I saw first on the back of the first report of the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund in South Africa. And it came from a South African writer called Philip Adam, and he said this: the future is not some place we are going to, but one we are creating. The paths to it are made, not found, and the process of making them changes both the maker and the destinations. So who knows where you are going to be in 3 years' time, Jim, but everybody here is going to be changed by the process without exception. And I think for some it could be an exciting ride, and for others, hopefully you will see the purpose and the point of what is happening, and you will get where you want to get with the great changes underway within the NHS. Thank you all very much indeed. Please thank our panel for their wonderful contribution. Thank you.